Welcome to Moments with Marianne. I'm so delighted we're spending this time here today. We have a very inspiring show coming right up with special guest, Susie Levan, and she's here today to share with us her new book, Getting to Forgiveness: What a Near-Death Experience Can Teach Us About Loss, Resilience, and Love. Now, Susie is a spiritual warrior, author, philanthropist, community leader, certified non-denominational pastoral counselor, hypnotherapist, teacher of meditation, life coach, and Reiki master and teacher. For the past 30 years, she's been teaching about the importance of meditation and helping women live their best lives. She channeled 2 meditation CDs with Grammy nominee and New Age musician Stephen Halperin. She founded the Work-Life Balance Institute for Women, a nonprofit, and then founded and published Balance Magazine, which is a magazine directed for women towards personal growth and self-development. So let's welcome to the show, Susie Levan.
Thank you, Marianne. I look forward to being here.
Oh, well, thank you. I mean, it's such an honor to spend this time to talk with you about your new book. And my goodness, what a journey you've been on.
Yes, it's been an amazing 32 years.
Well, and it's interesting just when we talk about, a lot of people go through very difficult times when they come to some type of a spiritual, I wouldn't say enlightenment, but a spiritual event that takes place. And you and your family were involved in a kidnapping, right?
That's correct. Yes. It's amazing how adversity can push you to become something that you never expected. It creates, and trauma, of course. And December 21, 1988, of course, it's a date I'll never forget because my old life ceased to exist. At that moment in time, it was obliterated. And as you said, every one of us has a story. And 1988 was a huge year for me. I married the love of my life in September of that year. And 3 months later, as I had known it for 38 years, was upended. My husband was CEO of a local bank. And my 7-year-old from a previous marriage and I were targets of a bank robbery and kidnapping. It's really where that occurred. So Lauren and I would spend 5 hours in a stifling trunk of a car in Florida, lying in fetal positions, and we became ransom and hostages in the extreme heat, with beads of sweat pouring down our foreheads, our bodies, literally hardly breathing. We survived, but I have to say, barely.
I mean, in the book, you talk about such a gripping story. It's just, it's horrific at the same time, just what, you as a family went through. I mean, when you were in the trunk of the car, what was going through your head?
Well, my one and only focus was my child. And in fact, when we were put into the trunk of the car, I heard in my head somewhere in the back of my mind, tell her you're playing hide and go seek, because it was pitch black. It was early in the morning. And when they put us in the trunk, she looked at me and I was doing everything in my power to not be emotional or cry or feel scared. Not that I wasn't terrified, but I was trying to show her how strong I was and that everything was going to be okay. And in that, the word, tell her we're playing hide and go seek, came to me. And I told her, and she seemed to, be okay with it. So, of course, while these 3 gunmen spent the night in our home, I never napped, I never slept, and I was really very tired. And I figured, well, this is our metal coffin, and we're going to end up asphyxiating in the trunk of the car any minute. Only because I'm sure you've read many stories of children left in cars and 10, 15 minutes later, the sweltering heat and they're dead. Well, now here we are in a trunk of a car left to die for over 5 hours. So yeah, I decided I would close my eyes and told her to take a nap, told her I was very tired. And I started to pray the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me lie in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. And when I finished that prayer, I asked God to take me. I said that my 7-year-old did not deserve to die this way. And literally, the minute I said that and the prayer ended and I told God to take me, I left my physical body and traveling out of my physical body, I guess my spirit, my soul, whatever you want to call it. And now I'm traveling through a tunnel into a heavenly, mystical realm where I literally was surrounded by beings of light. And I was moving at 1,000,000 miles a minute towards this tunnel. And now, mind you, I was chief operating officer of a public company up to that moment for 16 years. Never once thought about tunnel of light or anything metaphysical or spiritual for that matter. I was a religious person. Obviously, I knew this prayer. But now I am literally surrounded by beings of light and traveling at, no pun intended, light speed. And all of a sudden, I stop, or they stop me, and I'm being spoken to telepathically. There were these beings had really was like a shadow. They had no form, but yet they were there, and I could hear them, and they were speaking to me. So they were giving me messages and telling me that everything was okay, and to look down, because the first thing I said was, "Am I dead?" And they said, "No, you're not dead. You have lots to do yet on the planet and come back to the earth. And you and your daughter are very much alive. Look down." And I looked down, and there we were in the fetal positions lying in the trunk of the car. So after a while, and again, I have no idea how long I was there, I also was given a life review with a whiteboard showing me what my life had been like for the past 38 years. People I've hurt, the people that I loved, the people that I was good to, when I was kind, when I was evil, when I lied, when I was compassionate. It was a really eye-opening experience, the whiteboard and that life review. And what was interesting about the life review, Marianne, was that there was no judgment. It was all for my eyes only to see what it was all about, and that, in fact, there was nothing to forgive, because each and every one of the things that I had been shown was for my personal growth as a soul. My spirit would grow from each one of those experiences. At some point in time, as quickly as I came up into this tunnel of light, I'm now going backwards, the opposite direction. And my physical body was still in the trunk of the car. And all of a sudden, I'm now back in my physical body with such a loud thump and noise, like boom, that it woke my daughter, who had been napping. And all of a sudden, she said to me, "Look, Mommy, there's a hole where previously there was none of the size of a baseball in the trunk." And my eyes now open, because they had been closed. I opened my eyes. Above me, there was this opening. We could now see blue sky, the clouds, the air pouring in, the little light particles literally coming in. And to me, there was no doubt that divine intervention was keeping us alive.
My goodness, what a beautiful accounting of such a horrific event. And during all this, I mean, they had separated both you and your daughter, and then your husband, they had him dress up like he was going into work.
Correct. He was handling his end of the bargain, if you will, and they told him that not to call anyone, the FBI, the police from the different municipalities, because they drove all the way up to Fort Lauderdale. We were living in Miami at the time, and they said to him, "Once we have the money, we will call you and let you know where your family is." And luckily, they did that. And unfortunately, and of course, they were expecting to find us dead in the trunk of the car. 5 hours had now passed. There was no way that we would be alive unless we had had divine intervention and the opening in the trunk to save us. Now, when they opened the trunk of the car, we popped out like a jack in the box, and they totally were shocked to see us alive, even though we were hot and sweaty. And as they were closing the trunk, I turned around to show my husband where the opening was that saved us. And I was fingering it, looking for it. And of course, it was no longer there.
Wow, that's just remarkable. I mean, it is divine intervention, and going through such a horrific event, what was life like for you afterwards?
Well, actually, that's a great question. And unfortunately, to my great anguish and despair, the kidnapping had extraordinary stressful physical, mental, and emotional side effects on me. I'm the one that emerged from that dark terror, deeply traumatized and broken. In trying to make sure that my daughter was not traumatized, I'm the one that held all the fear and all, everything that was going on. So I came back as a broken human being, suffering from what can only be described as post-traumatic stress. And, most people know that condition because it's associated with military men and women facing death daily when they come back from combat. Yeah, I was just a broken human being, excruciating psychological and physical pain, because my body and mind were literally holding on to the trauma, and every cell and every tissue, every muscle, every bone. I was crying much of the time. I was in a rage much of the time. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't think. I couldn't focus. It was like a loop of the event and these gunmen in my home. No matter when I closed my eyes, they were there 24 hours a day in my head, and I couldn't get rid of it. And in fact, my husband actually hired wagon hut guards to be outside our home 24 hours a day. And subsequently, we did get a dog at the time, but he was not a barker, so it didn't matter. But most days, unfortunately, Marianne, I didn't get out of bed, and I couldn't string 2 or 3 days together where I felt normal again, whatever normal felt like, because frankly, I had lost sight of what that could feel like. And mind you, I was a brand new wife, 90 days. My husband and I had been married. I don't know if I mentioned that at the beginning. Yeah. So all I could do is relive the event over and over again. And I was just stuck in overwhelming anxiety. And unfortunately, trauma can do that to you. So I was very lucky that one day I woke up, and because I was just tired of the nightmares and these night sweats and the daymares and just everything that I was consumed, where I felt that I was being eaten alive and almost like left to die. I knew that God did not have this tunnel of light experience to take me to the other side, to connect me with beings of light, to then have a divine intervention to save us, for me then to spend the rest of my life stuck in this dark, dark night of the soul, if you will, which had now been almost 2 years. So I had lost so many things up to that moment in time. I never went back to my home that I lived in for 6 years. My new husband had moved in with us. So because of the events that started inside, I could never go back there. It's just too paralyzing. So I lost my home. I lost my career of 16 years. I lost my family in a sense also, because even though they stood by me, I felt completely disconnected because they really didn't understand what I went through. I didn't have a kumbaya group, if you will. And I lost my sense of safety and security because technically I felt rudderless and anchorless. And till one day, and men want to fix things. And my husband was constantly trying to fix me, but didn't know how. But on a soul level, and I think because of my near-death experience, I woke up one day and I said, I need help. I don't know how to get help or who to get help from, but I was on this abyss, this edge of the cliff where I almost really didn't want to live any longer. But I knew I needed to take care of my husband, my daughter, and daughters, because I had 2 daughters. And I desperately needed and wanted to change for the better. So one auspicious day, I asked for help, and I started taking one step at a time. My husband made a few phone calls, and he called a couple of people to see if we could get some therapy and or connection to a therapist that could help. And when it was all said and done, this amazing pastoral counselor and hypnotherapist that I was directed to was the one that, changed my life forever.
Wow. I mean, it's just so amazing what you went through, what you had to overcome. It really sounds like Alan was there for you the entire way, just trying to work through it, just like you were in many ways.
Yes, and the irony is that he is claustrophobic, so I know he would have never survived being in a trunk of a car. So I think we're all given what we can handle and what we're able to deal with. And I don't know if I could have handled what he went through with the the unknown of where's your family? Are they going to call you? Can I get the money out of the bank? I mean, he doesn't have a key to the safety deposit box or to the safe where the money is. That's not what a CEO does. So imagine having gone through all that. To me, his trauma was just as hard. It was just different.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And it's, you look at this and it's like you guys as a family went through so much. When you had your near-death experience, were there some changes that came later on when you started to get counseling and therapy? Were there some changes that happened immediately because of that near-death experience?
Oh, yes, very much so. So because of my therapy and my hypnotherapy in particular, Suzanne was actually very helpful in opening up whatever was given to me and the messages that were embedded, I guess, in me at the time of my near-death experience. And she recorded it all. And to my surprise, some of the information that I wasn't ready to obviously deal with until I got through, excuse me, some of the trauma, the physical, mental, and emotional trauma, was that I was to come back and teach meditation and empower women. Now, mind you, I had no idea how that was going to show up or in what form, and yet, it took me years to figure that out. But I did. I had to find the courage to forgive those that obviously hurt me, and to also realize the gift that they gave me at the same time. And that's very much part of what the book is about, is that in the end, everything that happens to us, if we look at it with fresh new eyes, there is never anything really to forgive, is there? Because you realize that if you get past it, that there is a gift at the other end.
Yeah, that's so true. It really is. And it's interesting when you look at forgiveness from such a it's almost like a bird's eye view in many ways, just
Correct.
stepping back so far that you're able to get beyond all of the events that surround, the emotions and the feelings that surround a certain event.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, you really see that in a whole new way. And had it not been for this event, I would probably still be living in the same home, still be doing the job that I was doing, and never had been given the opportunity to grow and expand and transform, because it was a huge transformation to the life and career that I have now. So what is there to forgive other than to look at it as, instead of being stuck as a victim, look at it more of a survivor and a fearless victor, if you will. A new beginning that I then, once I healed, filled with joy and love, and getting back to, connecting with my family. And it was very powerful when I saw it from that perspective.
So after this event happened, You were CEO of a major company and things majorly changed. How did your perspective change as well in regards to like what's important in life?
Oh my goodness! Well, everything technically changed in my life. Like I said, having lost everything, um, luckily I didn't lose my mind, but I was very close to the edge of that. But I realized that the trauma and the struggle brought me to a new light. And even though that I had thrived in the corporate world, the journey that I was now woke, if you will, the new word that everybody uses, um, was to find a different career, a different purpose. And oh, I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
So I lived in the question of what was I to do now, because it was a whole new life. And so I needed to figure out how I was going to inspire women and how I was going to teach meditation. And so I needed to go from the lowest of the low and the darkest of the dark, having lost everything, like I say, to be able to find a way to share my own empowerment with others and say they too could heal. So Suzanne, being a hypnotherapist and a teacher of meditation and a pastoral counselor, I then went back to school and became a pastoral counselor and a hypnotherapist and a teacher of meditation. I then became very psychic as part of my energy shift, if you will. When I came back, my body was was attuned, or on a different frequency, might be a better word. And I couldn't even hold on to a cell phone or a portable phone or things of that nature, because they would all be affected. Lights would flicker everywhere I went. When I went for a walk, the big light posts outside would literally turn off. So it took a while for me to be able to um, manage the frequency and the vibration that I had now been given, or had been exposed to, or had been changed into. I don't even know the words, but all of that really was a gift that I now had to figure out what to do with it. I was luckily enough able to channel a meditation tape with Stephen Halpern, which was Meditations for a Peaceful Heart and Meditations for Healing Stress. And I met him because of a dream. And when I stepped up after he was finished his workshop, and I told him that my dream said that I was supposed to do a meditation with him. And he said, "When can we start?" And 2 months later, again, without notes, went to his studio. He played his amazing ambient new age music, and the rest was history. And he said to me, "Never have I experienced such a quick turnaround on working with a client, if you will." So that was very powerful, and turned out to be the meditation was very powerful also, and connected to that music kind of takes you to another realm, maybe an astral realm, that opens you up to building your meditation muscle to receive, because in the end, that's what meditation is giving you the power to receive messages and to listen and to be open and be aware, because unfortunately so many of us are just stuck in the day in day out process. So I'm very fortunate to be able to talk about how people need to, even if you start with 2 minutes to 5 minutes, just focus on your breathing and bring it back. It's not about shutting down the noise and that monkey mind in your head. It's about just being focused and that quiet, even if it's 2 minutes, to bring that focus back to your mind and listen to the messages that come in. For all of us, we're all psychic. We're all able to receive. It's just sometimes, unfortunately, we have so much other things being bombarded at us that we forget that we have that power.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, a lot of times people get so overwhelmed when they have something traumatic that happens in their life, and then they, go through a near-death experience, and then they're not quite sure how to manage their energy afterwards.
Yeah. Well, I did not know. And like I say, I really didn't know who to turn to. This was not an area that I had any experience in. Suzanne put me in touch with a bunch of books, and I began to read and feel very connected to others who had experienced very similar situations, not necessarily being kidnapped, but near-death experiences. And by 1999, I had founded the Work-Life Balance Institute for Women, and then we had part of underneath that banner, we had Balance Magazine, Power Networking Luncheons, and all about personal growth and self-development, and celebrating women, and just taking a different path for empowerment. So I did that for 10 years, and it was really an amazing 10 years. The amount of fabulous women, and the letters and the cards and the notes and the emails that I received of how women had changed because of what we um, shared with them in the magazine and with our conferences, and so many different things that came of that. So it was really very powerful. It was a wonderful time. God gave me that gift. I know it, because it was just everything fell into place. Again, from listening.
Well, you can tell that also happened with your meditation, just the way that the energy flowed and how easily and effortlessly that was done.
Correct. Yeah. Well, I became very open to listening to the messages. And in fact, I have to tell you, coming back to that, people ask me all the time, did these people get caught? And the answer is yes. Unfortunately, they did this cross country. And it was such a cookie cutter, easy crime that unfortunately some people did not survive living in the trunk. And so they died. And so they were not just wanted now for kidnapping and for bank robbery, but now for murder. So they were caught in California, which we ended up going to the trial. And there was a woman sitting next to the mastermind, a woman whose voice I had heard over a phone call that he had made the morning of, because he was on the phone. And also when they had pulled over the car, there was a van that pulled over, and then a woman's voice came through who was clearly giving instructions to the two people. That one was the driver, and the other person next to him. So about I'm going to say almost 3 years after he was put in prison, I was sitting in an office in my husband's office. He was trying to get me back to the corporate world because he felt that it would help me get up, get dressed. Of course, my therapy had passed, and I was back to as normal as I could be with all the knowledge and information and what I knew now that I hadn't known before. And I was sitting in the conference room, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, I get this searing pain in my back and in the front of my body, where I felt like somebody had either shot me or put a knife through me. And I went pale and started to like sweat. And I'm staring at my husband across the table. And this is a board table with board members of the bank. And I get up and I like let out, "They're back. They're back." And he says, "Who?" And I said, "The woman is back and she's coming to get us." Now, I know that was a message that I was being given.
Yeah.
And it was so strong and it was so powerful. And I said to my husband, "I'm leaving and I'm going home. I'm picking up the dog and the housekeeper and my daughter, and we're off to a hotel and hope to see you there. I am not going home." I mean, the pain and the message was so loud and clear. And so P.S., of course, we did that. We moved into a Marriott or something. And next thing you know, my daughter goes back to school the next morning, whatever. I go back to the office with him because I was not going back home. And in the paper, the Palm Beach newspaper, they had picked up the woman with two guys with automatic weapons on an airfield they had flown in, clearly coming to come get us.
Oh my God.
to finish the job.
That is just, thank goodness you had that heads up and you were able to protect your family.
Correct. So, it's amazing how the universe is constantly, again, sending us messages. We just need to really pay attention as opposed to saying, oh, that must be a gallbladder pain or something stupid, No,
Yeah.
it was, how people, oh, this hurts, that hurts. Well, listen to what is it that, what is going on in your life that's creating that anxiety and that pain. There must be something. Now, I had no pain at that moment. I was almost back to as normal as I could be, as I said. So for me to think that that was a message of they're coming back to get us, I mean, oh, what a nightmare.
That is just so difficult. I couldn't even imagine what that would be like to live through, is that constant, you know, you're not really even thinking about it. You're living your life, and all of a sudden you get this heads up that these people are coming back to get you. And it's like, that's just horrifying.
It's horrifying. And, I had really felt at peace thinking that he had been put away and he was the mastermind and nothing else would come of it. And then to have that happen really, again, just upended my safety again. So, it just brings it up no matter how healed you are, you can't help but be emotionally connected to the fear again.
Yeah, well, without a
Because,
doubt.
yeah. So just kind of you like play it all over again. And it takes you a while to recover. But yeah, it was I was gifted with that knowledge.
Well, thank goodness. I mean, how was it being able to just, keep the balance of your marriage through all this? Because, you hear about when traumatic events happen, a lot of times marriages split up, and you guys are still together.
Thank you. Yes, I have a very spectacular and unique and amazing husband. Um, he, just I don't know. We are soul. We've traveled this earth many times before. I know it, many lifetimes, and meant to go through this process. I'm sure together. And like I say, we were married 90 days, and for him to understand and put up with and manage, because he became the mother, the father, the breadwinner, I was useless. Like I said, I was a useless vegetable in bed day in, day out. There were days like I said, I never got out of bed. Luckily, I took a shower and brushed my teeth. It was just on and on and on. The things that I did not deal with. I didn't cook. I didn't hardly ate. It was really tragic. Um, and men want to fix things. And, he would bring up soup when he'd come home from work and he would try and rub my feet and he would everything possible to make me feel better. But it to no avail because it was bigger than both of us. And, but he just hung on with me and did everything he could to be kind, to be loving, to be understanding with everything that was going on. And I know too many men would not have hung around or put up with, a wife that was not a wife, not a wife. I mean, I really wasn't. And so it took a long time for me to heal. So mentally and physically and emotionally, I was not there for him or for any of the kids because we had a combined family of 5 children. And so it was really difficult. But he, like I say, to this day, um, I always say when I speak about this topic, he never left me. And I'm just the luckiest girl in the world.
Well, that is just a beautiful romance story to have somebody like that through thick and thin, no matter what, and it just says a lot about your relationship.
Well, he's, like I say, very special. And I think the fact that it was the trunk of a car, like I said, being claustrophobic, the empathy levels that he had for me, and then of course not really understanding what I went through from a spiritual aspect was also, very difficult. But yet he managed to hang on and realize that, you know, this is just part of our journey and that we would get through it and I would get through it. And with his faith and his strength and he just, stood by my side. I don't know, honestly, if I would have been able to do it without him next to me, knowing that he was there to hold on, you know?
Yeah. I mean, having somebody, he really has been your rock throughout all of this.
Well, he's been my hero. He's been my rock. Yeah, that's the word, my rock, and someone that I can fall apart in front of, someone that I could, yell at, someone that I could deal with all the emotions that I had to deal with, Marianne. I mean, that never in my wildest dreams would I've ever thought of what I would experience and go through and have to heal from. And that's really where the word resilience comes from in the book, because the loss was, I lost so much. And the resilience is that we all have such superpowers inside us that until put to the test, we don't realize how strong we really are.
Yeah. So, I mean, my goodness, that's so true. And I think a lot of women and people gravitate to your story so much because you've gone through so much. So whatever their trauma is, they feel like they can resonate with you.
Well, trauma comes in so many different forms. It's not something that is radical as the one that I had, but trauma can be a divorce, trauma can be a death, or trauma can be a car accident, trauma can be just simple things of that goes on in every one of our lives. And so we can look at that as trauma because it affects us emotionally and physically and mentally. And some of us don't get past it. But when you look at it and you realize, okay, what is the lesson that I need to learn from this? And what is the gift that's coming from it? Because all trauma has some light at the end of the tunnel. There is always light from darkness. That I know. And we're all being tested, by the way, over and over and over. In fact, I was being tested again last 2 years ago when my 7-year-old that was in the trunk was now 37 years old. And unfortunately, she passed away September 17th of 2018.
I'm so sorry for your loss.
She had survived all those hours in the trunk with me and unfortunately had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And for 2 years, she had suffered all the tests and all the chemo and all the radiation. And unfortunately, she passed away from a cancer-related procedure. And what kept her going for 2 years was that she was getting married January 19th, 2019, to her beloved Travis. She had planned this beautiful destination wedding in Key Largo, and her wedding dress actually still hanging in my closet.
Oh my goodness. I am so sorry. I mean, no parent should have to go through the loss of a child.
It's overwhelming grief sometimes. I'm drained and I'm numb, and I'm different in a totally different way now, unfortunately. Her short life, I know that somewhere in her soul, I think she knew that she was going to have a short life. And she loved ferociously. She was different than any of our other children. And she traveled the world. She, never had any fear. She was never traumatized in any way. She went to college. She was just a wonderful child. And I mean, I'm so angry over the fact that this happened to her because, it's incredible how much we have to endure in our lifetimes, how much experience of trauma or adversity we have to all go through. And, how do you prepare for something as terrible as this? You can't. It's so out of sequence,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's anything that prepares anybody for that.
No, but it's incredible. I know that Lauren pushed me to finish my book because I had started my book before she got sick. and she was my biggest cheerleader, and she would push me to read her chapters and to finish the book, because I had no energy to want to finish the book. And unfortunately, the epilogue in the book became Lauren, and she kept pushing me even after she passed to live again, to find the courage to, get back to rebuild my life and to get back to doing what I'm passionate about supporting and empowering women. And I know that Lauren every day looks over me and knows that I'm thinking of her every minute of the day.
Do you have a lot of mothers and other women that reach out to you about the book and just being able to find that path to forgiveness? Because I know sometimes, just when life happens, it can be so hard to forgive people. And it seems like you've been through some of the ultimate challenges and you're talking about getting to forgiveness.
In the end, what I've determined, Marianne, that there's really nothing to forgive. And it's a very, very difficult message sometimes for people to hear. And the answer is yes, I do hear from lots of people trying to understand the why. And I always say, you can't question the why, because from a physical human level, we can't understand the why. I can't question why Lauren is no longer here. It was her time. And I know that 1,000,000%. Okay, it was her time. We all have our time. We all have our divine destiny. We've all chosen our soul purpose and our soul contract before we came into this physical body. And so if everything that you've chosen to be shown to you up to this moment in time was something that you have chosen, and that the people have shown up and have given you an Oscar Academy Award performance, and you received it, what is there to forgive? If you asked for it. It's a whole different perspective, mind you, and not everyone can relate to it or want to acknowledge that. But that is the true way of what forgiveness really is all about. Because once you see it from that, as you would say, that mirror or that perspective, you then can change, become positive, become happier, become fulfilled again, and bring joy and success in your life. If not, you are stuck, forever stuck.
Yeah, isn't that the truth? I mean, forgiveness is, I think a lot of times when we look at it with a different perspective, as you talk about, it may take a little contemplation on it, going, gosh, okay, how do I wrap my head around this? How do I get to this point? But I really feel that you've given people a lot to think about when we talk about forgiveness.
Well, like I say, I know that my challenges have not, will continue, because I'm still alive, I'm still human, and that's life. And so, but it's not going to define me. They are not going to define me. They're not going to defeat me, and they're not going to destroy me. And once you really know that you have superpowers to get past whatever is shown to you and look at it from a whole different place, and realize that there is a lesson and a gift behind each and every obstacle, challenge, because life is fragile and for sure impermanent. I know that for sure, because in a moment, a blink of an eye, you're dead. Now what? Have you lived this life to the fullest? Can you see what forgiveness is? Because forgiveness is for no one but for yourself. In the end, if you see that there is nothing to forgive, and if you can now then forgive yourself for what you have felt about what has been done to you, in whatever form, big or little, what you felt, mind you, it's all about you, not about them. You cannot forgive anyone. There is nothing to forgive. It's forgive yourself for what you thought was done to you, and then look at it from a whole different perspective. It changes the entire outcome of your life.
When you think back on the time where you were taken out of body and you saw the beings of light and you did the past life review or the life review,
Right.
Does any of that kind of imprint on your life today and how you just feel in general? I can understand about forgiveness, but just how you view life as you go throughout your day.
Oh, totally. Yeah. There's no doubt. And they told me that my soul was no longer the same soul that went up, that, that, that life review created a soul shift, if you will. And so, being more compassionate, more empathetic, more understanding, all of those things were all waiting for me to become that. Once I got past the trauma and my post-traumatic stress, all that was sitting there waiting for me to then help and empower others. And I'm sure that there was some of that inside me prior to that, but it was now on a higher level, if you will, where now you see things with new eyes.
Oh, that's such a huge shift in life. I understand that you are also donating proceeds of the book as well.
Yes, 100% of the proceeds are all going to nonprofits in our local market. I'm very, very fortunate that I don't need any of the money that comes from the sale of the book. And I've been giving money to many different nonprofits for many years anyway. So I thought, what a great idea to be able to continuing supporting them, from United Way to Habitat for Humanity to the Library Foundation to Girl Scouts to Women of Color, to Junior Achievement. It's there's many nonprofits, obviously the Cancer Society, that need money, and if we can share the message of my book, and people really get it, that they can then post on Facebook and on Instagram and on Amazon or Barnes and Noble, wherever they do a review, to help others to see the light through the messages of getting to forgiveness.
So, where can our listeners learn more about your book, be part of your community? Where can they go for all that information?
So my website is gettingtoforgiveness.com. And like I said, the book is available right now, and I was very lucky that the book became a number one release on Amazon like 10 days after it came out. I think the universe was very happy from the messages that I put out there. And by the way, I didn't mention that the foreword is by Gloria Estefan. I'm sure you know the name. And she was very kind to create a beautiful foreword for the book, because she also almost went through her own near-death experience when she had her tour bus going to, I think she was driving from Las Vegas to California on tour, where a semi-truck 18-wheeler crashed into their touring bus, and she ended up having rods put in her back and all sorts of physical issues that she went through for years, and subsequently had a child afterwards, amazingly as that sounds. So she's a powerful, powerful person that I was just honored to have her write my foreword.
Thank you for sharing that. I had no idea but that is a very dangerous road between Vegas and, LA.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have a lot in common and have lived very interesting parallel lives. So I think couldn't have been a more perfect gift that she gave me to write my foreword.
Yeah, without a doubt. Well, Susie, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
It's been my honor. And please share with your listeners how important meditation is, and to find either a local group or an app or someone who can teach them how to meditate. That is one of the most powerful things everyone can do, to connect and to listen to the messages that we're receiving each and every day.
Well, thank you, Susie. It's been such an honor to spend this time with you, and of course to talk about your new book, Getting to Forgiveness. Getting to Forgiveness is available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and all indie retailers. And if you don't see it on the shelf, ask for them to order it. Also, if you'd like to learn more about the book and connect with Susie, you can at gettingtoforgiveness.com for more information. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I would like to thank everyone for tuning in. You're listening to Moments with Mary Ann. And remember, make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Mary Ann is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Mary Ann will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just what moment will change your life forever. Moments with Mary Ann airs every Friday and Saturday at 5 p.m. Pacific and 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmaryann.com for more information.